everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you are all doing well today and that this week has been good for you. I am here today to share another powerful tip about self-love during the Ascension and Awakening process. So, like I've shared this week, I've shared two tips so far. The first one was observe. So the first one was observing your emotions, your thoughts in the situations that are happening. And I had to fully step into this yesterday as I was transforming quite a bit of energy. And I'll get to that here in a moment. The second tip was be authentic to yourself, which is also something that I partaked in yesterday. So I'm not quite ready to go into that. So I'm going to share the tip 3 that I'm coming on today to share with you. So tip number 3. So first of all, I want to go back and just kind of recap for a moment that the reason why I have found really drawn to share this with you all this week is because we are all going through the Ascension and Awakening process. And it can be something that we are consciously doing, or for a lot of individuals as well, it's something that we're subconsciously doing, meaning that it's happening to all of us. The Ascension and Awakening process is happening to every single individual on some level. Consciously, we can choose to go through the experience and choose how we are going to transform during this time, or it might be happening subconsciously and we are not really aware of what's going on and how to navigate these times. And it's okay to be in the middle of both. There might be some aspects that you're like, yep, I know exactly what's happening. And then there might be some aspects that you're like, whoa, what's going on? How can I navigate this time? Because I feel it. I know that this is happening, but I don't really fully understand it. And when this happens, we can be really impacted by society. And those impacts may be classified as either positive or negative. And I find that it's very essential to know that we don't always have to label everything. We don't have to label every experience as having a positive experience or a negative experience. It's just an experience. And so that's where kind of the observation piece came in that I shared the other day about how can we just acknowledge what we feel and observe the feeling to ask ourselves, is this an internal emotion or feeling, or is it an external feeling? Is it something that I, as an empath, am feeling from the collective or the people that I'm surrounding myself with? And then be authentic to yourself is basically that. Like, who are you? Who are you here? Who are you meant to be? And how can you step into the power of who you really are? And that's being authentic. And it can be scary to be authentic because for me, I'll share my personal journey. For me, I have developed my intuitive mediumship abilities within the past 7 years. Prior to that time, I really, on a conscious level, I really didn't know much about all of this stuff. I wasn't living, breathing it all the time. If somebody asked me a question about, meditation or being mindful or what is energy work or this, 7 years ago, I really didn't know. And so over the last 7 years, I've really developed these tools and these gifts and have really stepped into my power of owning that this is who I am. So I have had to come out of a spiritual closet per se to redefine my authentic self and to step into that power every single day. And there's challenges that come with that. But when I choose to be my authentic self every day, it blows me away because I know that I'm being true to myself. And when I can show up to be authentic for myself and true for myself, it greatly impacts those around me. Whether it be in a good way or bad way, I don't know. I can't control that. So, before, I was going to go into this third one, but now I'm just blabbing on here. So, how did I put these two aspects together yesterday? Well, I did share a post yesterday on my personal page that Lori Ladd created about Trump being a light worker. This isn't necessarily her belief or the truth or whatever you have, but it's something that really resonated deeply with me because I do feel that there's something happening on a much larger scale. And I'm not going to spend time talking about that video, but what I had to do yesterday is I had to observe and feel my emotions because there was a lot coming at me and I wasn't taking it personal. But there was a lot coming at me because of this post. But what I chose to do was step into my authenticity and share what I felt to be was in alignment with my truth. Okay? I'm not talking about anything about who he is as an individual. I just felt that this was an important thing to share. So I had to spend the day transforming a lot of energy. I mean, it got me like laid up on the couch. That's how intense it was. And I finally went outside and sat outside and just cried and cried because I had to feel and observe the emotions that were transforming within me and why those were coming up. And I owned it. And I'm okay with it. And in doing all of that and sharing all of that, it was me sharing my authenticity. And I don't necessarily am here to convince people to believe my beliefs. I'm not here to worry necessarily about what people think of me or my posts and things like that. So that was a pretty big pivotal moment for me yesterday. So that brings me to the powerful tip number 3 today. Now I'm getting to it, guys. Thanks for tuning in this long. So the tip number 3 today is let go of society's expectations. When you live from a point of, or when you live in the time of always worrying about what other people think of you, or how you can create yourself as a human being based off of what society expects of you, that's when you start to pull away those aspects of deeply loving who you truly are. That's self-love. So I'm going to just read off my screen here because my logical brain and my channeling my messages need to come together here. So I'm going to focus here for a moment. So it says, let go of society's expectations. The main human fears and limiting beliefs revolve around perfection, space, time, and death. So the main human that their fears and limiting beliefs revolve around perfection, space, time, and death. Perfection is how society wants us to be. Space has to do with where and how society wants us to live. The time has to do with when society wants us to live. And death is the limit that society gives us to exist. So as you can see, society easily controls every single aspect of our lives. Programming us since birth to reject our imperfections, our age, our body, and our perceptions, constantly feeding us that I am not enough. They're planting that seed of thought within us. Pretty powerful. So when we understand that time, space, perfection, and death are just illusions of the third dimension, there's nothing left to be scared of. Wow. So how can you let go of society's expectations so that you can love yourself a little bit more? How can you return back to a state of wholeness? How can you return back to a state of wholeness that goes beyond what society expects of you? I want you to think about that. I want you to really deeply reflect on what I just shared with you. And when you look within, and when you look at society's expectations, are they in alignment? Are society's expectations of you helping you to fulfill and live your life in alignment with your highest self? So when I was working with my mentor, my coach, about a month ago, this was one thing that really came up for me. Because I was not living in a state of wholeness. And for the most part, I'm getting better. I'm implementing a lot of things that I've learned so that I can live in a state of wholeness and in alignment with my divine highest self. But one thing that I had to release was living with these unmanageable expectations that I thought I had to be a certain person. I had to do a certain thing. And I was always comparing myself to family, friends, society, different aspects that really were my triggers. And I actually just posted this again on my personal page, something about triggers. So you can go back and look at that. But I was always comparing myself comparing myself to other people, and in that state of judgment, when in reality I wasn't judging anybody but myself. And you can't live in a state of wholeness if you are constantly living up to other people's expectations and judging others and comparing yourself to others and feeling not enough or feeling unfulfilled. And you can always point fingers and blame other people as of why you're feeling triggered or as why you're feeling those ways. But in actuality, it's all this. It's all coming from within. But it's okay. It's really okay to feel those ways. And I'm not pointing blame at anybody, but coming into this earthly plane, coming into this human existence, there are always outside factors that are going to trigger us, that are going to make us believe that you have to make a certain amount of money. You have to be a certain weight or size. Or in order to feel loved, you have to have X, Y, and Z. But I'm going to call bullshit on that. Because I have found myself to be more authentic and true to myself when I've let go of those expectations. And when I continue to consciously choose to let those things go. And again, it's a work in progress. But instead of blaming society or connecting ourselves to the perfection, the space, the time, the death, okay? When we can kind of just go within and focus on those things within ourselves, that's when the healing starts to begin. That's when we can really start to love ourselves. So I want you to look at how society is controlling you right now. Ooh, there's a lot of that happening. A lot of that happening right now. And how can you live more in a state of alignment with your truest divine self when you take away the factors of control and what society expects of us? And I think it also can wrap around some of the things that I have been talking about this week as well. So how can you see yourself as a whole individual? Because in order to see the world as being whole, you have to see yourself as whole. In order for the world to heal, you need to heal. So that you can continue to show up and be the light worker, the way shower that you are. And to become more conscious of how you are as a human being and what your purpose is on this planet. Because we all are here to help shift this consciousness. Because that's what the Ascension is. The Ascension is shifting from those lower, I don't want to say lower, but those 3D consciousnesses up into the 4D and 5D. And the third dimension, or the 3D dimension, is living in fear, being controlled, being manipulated. And it's okay. We're going to continue to have those experiences. It's not to say that we have to eliminate them altogether. We are here to do the work so that we can continue to ascend and awaken. And there's definitely triggers that are going to make us question that. But to focus on self, I want you to look beyond what society is expecting of you. Look at what things you feel you're expected to do. And ask that, is society implementing those beliefs on you? Or is this something that was implemented as a generational pattern or belief? Or is it your belief? Are you the one that created that belief? Is it your truth? So do you fear time, space, perfection, and death? That's a lot to digest. Okay? So if these things have been pulling on your heartstrings this week, if you feel like you've really been hearing my words, you're ready to go a little deeper, then I want you to think about joining me in the 5-week program, Expanding Your Divine Self. This stuff can feel pretty uncomfortable. It can feel like, yeah, I hear what she's saying, but I know that it's triggering me or it's pulling up these emotions and I don't know where they're coming from and I don't know where they stem from, but I don't want to feel like this. I want to love myself deeper. I want to continue on this ascension awakening path, as conscious as possible. Because that's the key, is to be conscious through this ascension and awakening process so that you get to be in control. Not somebody else, not the outside forces. You get to be in control and be in alignment with why you are here. So we will be talking about, the first week is all about breaking through the barriers. So again, looking at your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, your thoughts, your perceptions. Are they ancestral patterns? Are they patterns from what society believes? So we're going to be breaking those down, breaking through those barriers. Then you're going to be creating a new story. So how do you want to live? What stories do you want to create that are in alignment with your divine self, your higher self? So I talk about my belief about lack, not having enough, and how I've changed I've broken down that barrier, and so that I live from a place of abundance. And I'll share with you that by breaking down that barrier of lack, I have attracted a lot more abundance in my life. Not just financially, but within my health, within my happiness, within my family, my friends. So it's huge, okay? Week 3 is standing in your power, connecting to your highest self. How can you connect to your higher self and live from that place of empowerment? Not from an egotistical standpoint, but from a higher perspective of, this is who I am. And I'm not going to be limited by my beliefs. I'm going to stand in my power of who I truly am. You're going to learn how to connect to your higher self. You're going to connect to how to receive messages and insight from your higher self. Week 4 is connecting to your cosmic team. So how can you use your cosmic team, the light beings, the angels, the, I don't know, aliens, whoever you work with? How can you connect with them? How are they going to help guide you in this ascension process? Because they're like totally there waiting for us to connect. And then week five is all about how to alchemize denser or lower frequencies, vibrations, into higher frequencies and vibrations. So taking fear to love, taking lack to abundance, we're going to look at the bigger picture of what's going on in this time space reality. So kind of like I just said, we're not going to live our lives by what society expects of us. We're going to take that shit and alchemize it so that we can be our powerful beings. That's what this is all about. So this is expanding your divine self. It starts on Sunday, which is 2 days away. Every Sunday you receive an email with the content. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, we meet via Zoom to really dive deep into that week's topic. And if you can't make the Zooms, the recordings will be available as well. So I'm super excited about this. This program was a download that I received from my higher self and my guides. So I feel like I am so ready for this because it's been a work in progress the last month or so. And I'm really, really excited about this. So if this speaks to you, if you want to join in, I'll post the link below. And I can't wait. So thank you for joining me this week. I have more tips, but I will be sharing those within the program. So those were the 3 essential tips that just really popped out at me this week. And it's really interesting how they all unfolded this week with some of the other things happening. So anyways, join me. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you for tuning in. I love you all so much from the bottom of my heart. So many blessings. Enjoy this wonderful day. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see some of you in that program.